Hey everybody.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
You'll notice there's a couple of bottles shy over there. Any rate, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for giving the rest to me. Hey everybody, we're gonna rip
On each other. We're gonna rip on each other. Yeah.
We're actually gonna love each other. It's gonna be a love fest for the first time.
Ew.
I
didn't sign
actually
up
you
for
have to
that.
like before you love.
That's a good point. I didn't sign up for that.
Anyway, we're gonna talk about AutoDesk, specifically AutoCAD. But really the AutoDesk suite in deploying. I kind of like how they do their deployments now. It took them a while to get this right, I think. It's always been somewhat of a pain to deploy AutoCAD. Look at our forums in the past. People are going, how do you get this done? If you have those questions, we're going to show you. Hopefully what we can show you today will help you get this stuff deployed.
Now, I will definitely say this. Put your seatbelts on. It's going to be a real busy one. And it is a reason to drink, so.
Yeah, rock on.
All right.
All right, before we start, are there any questions you want to throw down, Kelly? Oh, by the way, happy birthday, Kelly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. First question today comes from Brian W. Is this covering just the base AutoCAD product, or will it include the verticals such as the suites?
Hey, Brian. What we're going to show you works for most Autodesk products that we've seen, including, I looked at this on the BDSU, the Building Design Suite Ultimate. Probably work on the Premium. The Autodesk has really been focusing a lot on making this process work for a lot of their products, including the suites. So it should work. I'm not sure what suite you're using. I've tested this on Revit. I've tested this with AutoCAD Lite or LT, AutoCAD, and BDSU. So rock on. It should work.
Yeah.
All right. So
First things about this, they built a
deployment. It's similar to the Microsoft OCT.
Yeah, the OCT, similar.
And same with Adobe. Adobe has the Adobe customization tool.
Yeah.
Autodesk has the ability now to build a deployment, and we're going to walk you through that. That's the easiest way of doing it. In fact, I'll show you a package the PDQ Deploy package that will actually try to break these down step by step, and it's going to be a lot more difficult to do. And we do have customers that use that way.
Yeah.
But this should take care of it for you. So the first thing you're going to want, obviously, you need to have the
A remote desktop has ended. Woohoo!
rock on. We'll figure it out.
All right, so
You need to have your software downloaded or whatever. Put this on a file share somewhere, an accessible file share. So here I've got AutoCAD 2017. But once again, like Brian mentioned, replace AutoCAD with Revit or BDSU or whatever other Autodesk product you use. This will probably work with that. I've actually gone back and done even AutoCAD 2014 using this method, and it worked.
nice.
So here we're talking about 2017. All right. Anyway, so once you have, obviously, you're going to have to have your licenses.
You need to put it on a file share, guys. Get this copied out there.
I hate the fact that we had to say it, but an accessible file share. That means it's going to have to be accessible by the deploy user that you use. Because when you go out to these target machines, these target machines are going to be pulling that deployment from that file server. We're not going to be using the repository, the PDQ repository in this example. 1 second here, folks. Let's go ahead and do it. So we've got our effectively our install files out. Now this is where you're going to run or define the deployment. It's just run setup. You're not going to actually install it. So this part could actually be run from your local machine.
Yeah.
As long as what constitutes the deployment files are out there on the network.
So again, you're going to want to copy these back out with the EXEs, am I right?
Well, the deployment part.
Once we're done.
Yeah, the deployment part.
Yeah.
Well, the deployment part will take care of that.
Okay.
So you're gonna see this window pop up, and obviously we're not going to install it. We're going to create a deployment. Yeah. So we'll click that.
Jeopardy music plays.
Yeah, rock on.
Or you can do what I like to do, which is, just drink.
All right, so now we're going to call this
smooth.
And if you are following along with it, we're gonna do a few things to save some time because this takes a while. I mean, we're talking about copying, several gigs of data across your network here. Give your deployment a name. I'm just gonna call this one AutoCAD 2017. Obviously, call it whatever you want. Now, the administrative image path, this is where you're going to copy the deployment to. So it's actually whatever directory you choose, if that exists, it's actually going to delete it and recreate it
to
make sure that it's pristine. So we've got, pardon me, I've got this right here. We're going to go to, it's a UNC path on token, like we usually do. AutoDesk deployments, AutoCAD 2017. So it would actually delete 2017 and recreate it so that it has a pristine. It knows basically the deployment saying, I don't trust that you've got anything out there. I'm going to put everything out there. All right. So yeah, that's what you. Oh, pardon me. I need to copy that. So just go ahead, create your full path. This is the easiest, and then paste it there. Yeah, there we go. Paste it right there. I'm going to just go ahead and turn off the create a log on each work. You can keep that if you want. It actually still seems like it creates the logs in a lot of cases, but yeah. We do want to include products only registered or required by this deployment and run installations in silent mode. And we are going to create a network log file, and you're going to see that's the path for those logs. It's cool because once the deployment's finished on a computer, whether it succeeded or failed, it's going to log kind of what happened on that computer out here in this location. So keep in mind, keep an eye out for that. One log file, you'll just see multiple entries for each computer. Oops, pardon me, no. So we're almost screwed up there, JJ.
That would
because this will take a long time. We've already done this part, so I'm going to hit cancel.
Right.
So at this point, it would just build it.
Yeah, you click next, and then it's going to copy those files out into, in this case, 2017. And you're going to see an image directory, IMG, as well as your log. That's where the logs are. And then SMS SCCM scripts. Basically, if you want, and we'll cover this in a second if we have time, if you want to build this component by component in PDQ Deploy, you could come into like the AutoCAD 2017 SCCM. And you can see they're saying run this command right here. Sorry, I'm sorry, I'll lower that. We're going to run this command here in a package, but if you want, you could run all of these individual steps. It's a lot, and there's actually some customization that you have to do in those steps. It's not pretty.
If we have time, we'll show you the one Shane built.
Yeah, it's kind of pain. Recommend just running this off of the one command line that we're talking about.
Yeah.
All right. So once you've got that down, which once again, we copied it to 2017. Now we open up PDQ Deploy. And I'm going to go to My Custom Packages. I just created that folder, created a new package. And we're going to create a new step. This is going to be a command step. And we're going to delete
the install step.
The install step, yep.
Now, why are you doing a command step versus install?
An install step, when you do an install step, the install file that you choose, it actually copies that down to each target.
Okay.
Well, we don't want to do that. We don't want to copy all those files down. We're talking, 4.5 gigs.
It'll just run off the file server, basically.
It's just going to run off the file server, so that's why we're doing it.
Ultimately, you could do it as an install step, but it'd be inefficient.
It would be, yeah, you'd have to really you'd have to do some magic behind there. And it's recommended that you just do it this way because keep those install files out there. It helps in the future. So we're going to use a command step. That's a great question. We'll call this package AutoCAD 2017.
Can he spell correctly today?
With this much scotch. All right, now what command are we going to run? Now, if you remember that SMS script that we just looked at, it actually threw that command in there. If we're going to run this, open it up. There's the command right there. We're going to run. You could run Setup.exe, but you see that dot. So that's relative, thinking that we're already in 2017. So here's what you're actually going to want to do. Go out to your base directory where you installed the deployment, and you're going to see a shortcut, an LNK file. And the way Autodesk built this, they intended for you to make this shortcut available to your users that needed this installed. They would double click on that shortcut, and it would do a silent install.
Yeah.
So you're just going to right click and go to properties on that shortcut.
Copy and paste.
And you see that target. That target has the entire UNC in the target field, including all of the
silent parameters.
Yep. So we're just going to copy that whole thing. We're going to come over to our command step. I'll give this a title. And we're just going to paste that command in there. Now, if you have any spaces in your path here, you're going to want to obviously double quote, but we don't have any spaces in there, and I made sure of that. But interestingly enough, with the /i parameter, you don't need to have quotes around. If there's spaces here, notice there actually are spaces in this INI file.
Yeah.
You don't need that because anything after the /i, Autodesk setup will say anything after the /i, we're going to go all the way up to an INI file.
Okay.
So it doesn't care about that.
Okay, quick question, Shane. You see the QB right there, man?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's right.
Thank you for bringing that up, man.
Let me see, right here. Oh, look at that. I fixed that really good.
Lex, how do you clear that?
How do you clear that?
There we go.
And then
So what we're gonna do? This is what we do when Lex comes.
when I start helping with IT.
Did I lose my mouse? No.
Oh, there you are. That's what you get when I deal with it.
Lex, drink.
Just reminding me, hey, make sure they use the on-screen notation. Like, oh, they just did.
Yeah, and
Inadvertently.
Lex crapped the bed on that.
Hey,
All right. Anyway, so
that was a killer.
it was a
Crash and burn.
You're right, it was. Okay, so yeah, so you mentioned the QB. Now, QB, they're using some MSI vernacular here.
Yeah.
QB means quiet basic, which means if you run this, if you were just to double click on that shortcut file, you're going to see some windows pop up. And you'll see the installation. You won't be asked any questions, but you'll see some access. This is what causes a lot of people to kind of
Freak a little
have a
bit.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll change this to, well, I want this to be silent, so they'll go to QN.
Yeah.
If you do QN, it will hang. Don't
do
That's
it.
what people are saying. Hey, I'm running this QN, and it's just hanging, takes forever, and nothing is being changed on the computer. You can keep QB if you would like. So there's two options here. Number one, if you want the person, if they're logged on, to see the results, if you do QB, go ahead to Options and change this Run As to Deploy User Interactive.
Very
But
important.
It's actually not required that
Not
you
required?
do that. No.
Okay.
You can, if you want to do a Deploy User, so it's silent so they wouldn't see anything, you could just take this /Q and change it, or QB and change it to a /Q, not QN.
Okay, so
but we're gonna
in
do
my
QB.
world, which is like, remind the end users you're the boss. QB is a way to do it.
Sure.
Don't tell them you're deploying, just let that stuff start flashing on their screen.
I'm just going to do QB. It's not required. You can do /Q. I am also going to say deploy user interactive. Once again, even if no one's logged on, this should still work.
Yep.
We've tested this and it has worked in our environment. Yeah, go ahead. Do we have a question?
And this question comes from our good friend from across the pond, Timo S. We use the following in an MDT deployment, which is working great. Setup.exe, yada, yada, yada. The same step in PDQ Deploy is not working. Do I need additional parameters?
Well, hello. So you're doing the /Q. Oh, by the way, yeah, it is important. You see that /W that Timo has there.
And what is the /W?
You do want that. That is the Setup.exe expects this. This is a /wait. It's an uppercase W. What this means, if you were just to run this without the /W, it would launch this, pass the parameters, and then return.
Okay.
So it would look like your deployment took a few seconds. But in reality, it actually just kicked off that process.
Still
The
running
/W says wait for all the child processes that are spawned to return, ultimately with a return code.
Okay.
So you really want to do /W. Now, if this is hanging for you, just see /W, no, I mean, I see that you're doing MDT $. Obviously, you're going to have to make sure that
Your path's correct.
the deploy user is going to work. If you use this, if you run as local system,
It looks like there's a space in the path. UHPT space ACAD. Is that?
no, that's
That comes
that's
after
okay.
that /I.
is that-
Yeah,
so,
we've got that. We've got the same thing here, and you're going to see that it works. Try doing a QB, Timo, and see if that works for you, buddy. Like I say, I am changing the run as to deploy user. By the way, if you have your run as set to local system, it's going to fail.
Yeah.
Chances are overwhelming it's going to fail because your computer's the local system runs as the local computer account. Unless you've made some special arrangements in Active Directory, your local computers are not going to be able to access a network file share.
Yeah.
So don't run this local system.
Somebody in the chat is mentioning that it was the thing that I called out because that was a path, and there's a space in that path.
Okay, so I'm going to go back here to the path. If there is a space here, Notice from this, if there was a space here, you would want to do quotes up to Setup.exe. You don't need to do quotes if it's after the /i. If it's after the /i, notice we've got a space between AutoCAD and 2017. Oh. We don't need that. No, I'll show you that here. But if there is quotes on the Setup.exe, up to the Setup.exe, you will need those. If there are spaces, you will need double quotes. Okay. So I'm going to hit save. Now, success codes. Put a comma, do 1641 and 3010. And I've noticed a few things about some Autodesk products. They will return 1641.
And what's that? 1641
is the error code. It's a Microsoft installer error code. When I say error code, remember, error doesn't necessarily mean fatal. It's a return code. 1641 means it was successful and the computer is rebooting.
Yeah, okay.
3010 means the installation was successful, but you need to reboot in order for all the changes to take effect. We've seen 1641 come back even though the computer doesn't reboot.
Really?
And that's just something that's
interesting.
That would most likely constitute a bug. Yeah. But either way, we're going to say if it's these three, 0, 1641, or 3010, it's going to be considered a success. On the conditions, I am actually just going to come in here and clear these out and say only install on Windows 10, 8.1, and Windows 7. That way, if you happen to deploy this to a 2012 or Windows Vista, it's not even going to run this step. It's going to say you don't meet the conditions. Yep. And I'm going to say 64-bit. I don't know why you would ever run AutoCAD in this day and age on a 32-bit processor. Yeah. So anyway, that's what we're going to go with. We added the /w. We did do the QB, and we changed the run as, even though you can do the Q. Well, you'll see. We're going to deploy this to we got this machine logged on right now. This is Leonard. We're going to deploy it to Leonard. And we want to show you what somebody would see if they're logged on. We're also going to deploy it, I think, to a computer called Hannibal, and there's nobody logged on to that one.
Excellent.
All right. Let's deploy this thing. Let's get this thing going, because this can take a while. Should have done this earlier. Let's type these in.
It's a good time to drink while it's deploying.
All right.
Good time to drink.
So Hannibal and Leonard.
I have a question.
And we're going to use our regular deploy user. This case is Quintana, and we're going to hit deploy.
Boom.
And while we're doing that,
we'll just pop that up so we
can we'll pop up Leonard. Once again, Hannibal, no one's logged on, so it should still work there. I'm going to also open up PDQ inventory. You can see we've got these Hannibal and Leonard right here. And if I open up Leonard, go to the applications, those are the applications that are there. What you can do, just to kind of make sure, if you're wondering, oh, this is going to hang, is this hanging, it's taking a long time, you can check either on the computer or in PDQ inventory and just kind of scan and see, hey, is there anything going on? Notice, once again, we had the run as deploy user interactive. So this is what a user would be seeing here. They're not being asked questions, but they see some setups being initialized.
See, now, I got to say, I like the way you did this package. There was no message saying I'm installing. It's just, boom, it's right there.
Okay.
Eat this,
So Lex
people.
brings up a good point. If you want to send a message...
You don't want... No. Don't send a message. Launch it.
Create a new...
Save yourself that extra step.
Create a new step and do a message saying, hey, we're deploying this to you.
And make it show for 2 seconds.
And you guys suck. I hate to have you guys...
Installing it. Ha!
That's why I'm just your video guy.
Well, you gotta love it when I deploy stuff.
You guys want to take a question?
Should we do a question?
Hannibal came back as successful. Did it already have this installed?
Hannibal? I don't think so.
It's still going. No, it's Leonard.
Oh, it did. My goodness. Sorry.
See, that's what it looks like when it's done properly.
Let's go to Mr. Mackey.
We'll send it to
Let's
Mackey.
see if Mr. Mackey is installed. Once again, we suck. All right.
Most
so while we're doing that,
webcast out there.
And we just scanned at Mr. Mackey here. Let's see if anybody's logged on to Mackey. Because I want to show that this, no one's logged on. There's no current user. I want to show that this will work if no one's logged on.
Really? Trust us. That's the last word you ever want to hear from anyone. Trust me. Uh-huh.
Mackey's got a...
Yeah, I saw that.
Ooh. So how many sips of that have you had?
Shut up, Lex. All right, we're going to hit Mr. Mackey. Deploy now.
Hey, just screwing up on camera, man.
How about a question?
That's our milieu. That's all we do.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
That's
go ahead and throw a question now.
Dearest Shane and Lex, I need to update to 2017. I wonder if I can uninstall the previous versions first, then push out the new version, Jamie or Jaime P.
Kelly. I love you.
I'll punch
All
him
right.
afterwards, Jamie.
Okay, Jamie. To uninstall it, there's several ways you can uninstall. Now, there's a lot of components. Actually, it is kind of cool that Hannibal does have this installed because we're going to go back to the Hannibal computer. If you look at all of the different AutoCAD products, this is just for AutoCAD 2017. All the things that are installed there. You could go in and uninstall these individually. Yada yada. Remember, I mentioned that SMS scripts under 2017.
They've got an uninstall line in there, or a script.
So there's an
one.
uninstall right here. You can open this up, and this gives you some information on how to run the uninstalls if you want. You could let's see, how would this work? Yeah, you could come in here and uncomment. You remove the first 2 colons in this one to uninstall it. I haven't actually tested this. Those that have 4 are actually meant to be commented out. But let me scroll on down. Where you see the calls, you could remove those 2 and then change this to a. I don't know. You could run these commands if you want.
Basically, look at this script.
Yeah, look at this script.
Mimic
check
it.
it out.
Yeah.
Or you could, if you wanted to come into like PDQ inventory, if it's an
Uninstall
MSI,
yeah.
which most of these are an MSI, you could just right-click and say uninstall. That'll pull up a remote command and it will uninstall that. If it's an MSI, it automatically adds the silent parameters, so you're pretty good there. And that's just kind of a one at a time hit. You can build a package that throws these MSI uninstall commands in there.
Into one, yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
That's a good question, Jamie. Check out that SMS script. I'm sorry that we're not going to be able to demonstrate that here. And just so you know, by the way, we can see there are so many prerequisites. Here's a tip. Number 1, if you are deploying this, make sure you have at least .NET 4.6. If we're talking about AutoCAD 2017, with earlier versions, if you're using like AutoCAD 2015 or something, I think you need to have .NET 4.5. But if you're talking about 2017 or BDSU's 2017, make sure you have at least the .NET Framework 4.6. We have a package in the package library for PDQ Deploy.
Launch it, yeah.
Just to push that out. If you don't have 4.6, it will install that. So that you could actually save some time if you make sure to push out at least 4.6. The latest as of this recording is 4.6.1.
Yeah.
So that's what these machines, and you'll save some time because .NET itself takes a good 10 minutes to install. But there's Microsoft Visual C++ runtimes and DirectX.
Why don't we pull up the one that does all the individuals? Okay. I mean, that'll show you what it does, actually.
I threw it out here, and it's actually not even complete. It only goes up to AutoCAD. It doesn't do. There's like 6 more. Six more things to do there. So yeah, 1 second there, JJ. We're gonna pull up. This is what it would look like if you wanted to do this individually and not use their deploy tool.
I don't think that exists, man. There you go.
Yeah.
Boy.
We'll just do this. AutoCAD. Oops.
Was it customer?
No, I put it right here.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
So I've called this one AutoCAD 2017 Individual Steps. You ready for this one? And once again, this only goes up to AutoCAD. There's some additional things. You can see all the different prerequisites that are being installed.
Visual C++.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch. C++ 2008. If you're doing an earlier version of AutoCAD, like 2014 or 2015, you're going to also throw in the Visual C++ 2005 runtime.
Wow.
So all these runtimes are being installed. Notice some of these I'm actually calling from a command step, and those are the parameters pulled from that SMS script.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably not the way to go. The only benefit to this is if you want to be able to look at each different step as it's running.
Yeah.
As an administrator, honestly, I would recommend doing this other way.
Just remember, the lazy sysadmin is the best sysadmin. Do it as easy as possible.
Rock on.
Yeah.
So anyway, going back to Leonard, you can see now we are actually on AutoCAD. We've gotten past, and how to verify that, I'm just going to go over here to Leonard, to the computer entered in PDQ inventory. I'm just going to do a quick inventory scan. I just hit F6.
Nice.
And we're going to see the applications populate up to what it's done so far. You said you had a question, JJ?
I don't, but
There's a
Daniel
question
does.
posted.
Daniel W., longtime listener, first-time question asker. Daniel W. wants to know, can you install AutoCAD 2017 while the user is working in AutoCAD 2016?
I don't know.
I say try it. Do it. Just do it. Wait till they're doing something huge. Launch that out, and then when it doesn't work or it crashes for them, you're just like,
I don't know. What I would certainly recommend. I would certainly recommend doing this.
there's nothing
off hours.
sporting about that, man.
Right?
Nothing sporting about that.
I would certainly recommend doing this off hours. Oh, by the way, notice there's a bunch of the Visual C++, Autodesk stuff, so we know that Leonard's rocking and rolling. Let's check out Mr. Mackey. real quick.
Daniel, try that. I want to know if it screws up someone's work.
I
Just don't credit me with that, all right?
Yeah, I haven't tested that. And keep in mind, we're part of the Autodesk developer network.
Yeah.
We get their software. We're not actually allowed to use it. So if you have questions about, hey, how do I use this particular piece of AutoCAD, or how can I configure this particular function in AutoCAD, we're not CAD folks here. I don't know. We're talking about deploying out there. So Mr. Mackey, you can tell Mr. Mackey is
Nice.
rocking and rolling as well. And that's somebody who's not logged on, even though we're using Deploy User Interactive. The way the Deploy User Interactive works, if someone's logged on, it will launch that process in a desktop so that they can see messages, they can see deployment statuses, et cetera, et cetera. But if no one's logged on, it just reverts to Deploy
Yeah.
User.
Yep.
Okay. I think that's probably finished
Oh,
now.
yeah. Did you see the icon on the desktop?
Let's see. Yep. So it took what we're talking about 7 minutes. Now, just so you know, we've had some people say this, whether they have a slow network or they're deploying to a lot of computers and it times out after 60 minutes. That's the default timeout for deployment in PDQ Deploy. If you want to increase that, go back to your AutoCAD package. Go to Package Properties. Use a custom timeout. You see that checkbox there? And increase this. We had one person on our forum say I increase it to 90 and my success is
Golden.
happened. Yeah, so 90, maybe 120 minutes. And this is only changing it for this particular package.
yes.
It doesn't change it globally. If you wanted to change it globally, which I wouldn't recommend, you do that in Preferences.
That
All
can
right,
make
and
for-
you know
that
what?
can
And it
make for a
looks like
long
Mr.
deployment.
Mackey was successful as well, 7
Excellent.
minutes. So, so if we were to come over here, there's the AutoCAD 2017, yada, yada, yada.
Yada,
Run
yada.
that.
Nice.
This is gonna say, do you want to register this? All that stuff. But just so you
There
know,
you go.
we don't have anything up our sleeves here. This just worked.
That's why we have to wear short sleeves, huh?
Now, Timo had asked a question, and he sent me an email late last night saying, hey, is there a way to, we have settings that we want to import.
We have that right now, ready for
Well,
you.
I
got that question?
haven't tested that. What he said is they have an archive, like a zip file that they need to import, and it's per user. Here it is. After a successful installation of a new workstation, we import some customized settings in a zip file so that new colleagues have all the settings like the others. For example, toolbars. Is there a way to automate this in the deployment? I haven't tested this.
I don't know yet, man.
So I'm going to just go ahead and hit cancel. I'm not going to.
Yeah, so that's when
So basically, what Timo did say is these settings are per user, which tells me it goes into the app data. If you wanted to do that, you're going to, let me minimize this. If you wanted to do that, after step 1, you would create a new step, and you could call this something like import settings. But as he said, these go per user, which means you would have to have that user logged on at the time. And then you would run whatever the command is to zip it. If you're unzipping an archive, you'd have to tell the path to go to, use the app data variable, and then it's very important that you do these 2 steps. If you're going to do this, you would go to Options, Run As, the logged on user, and then in Conditions, the logged on state, only run this state if a user is logged on.
And if it was me, I would separate the two. Do your AutoCAD install and then launch the other one so you can redo it when people are logged on.
That's fine. And then that's a great point. If you wanted to incorporate it, I don't know the syntax here. However, they have their archives, but you would have your command there to extract. Like I say, in the app data. Remember, if you go to, I'm going to just go to app data here. If I go to app data, that is per user. So this opens up, I'm logged on as Quintana, this opens up the Quintana profile. And this is, app data is where I go, right, in this case to roaming or wherever. There's AutoDesk. Maybe you're going to go into, import these settings in here or something like that. So app data will work, but it will only work if you have the run as logged on user and only run if a user is logged on. Okay? So I'm sorry, Timo, I wasn't able to test that out for you, but those are what you're going to want to do. I'd honestly recommend, as we mentioned in the Jeffrey Moskowitz webcast about a month ago, if you're going to do things that really need to happen per user on a consistent basis, look at the GPO.
Yeah.
A user level GPO, so that every time the user logs on, those settings are enforced. All right, I hope this answers some of your questions. You see that it was successful. Those of you who have been having problems, check out your run as. Make sure you have the /W, yada yada. And always do this under the influence of Scotch.
Not QN, and yes, definitely.
Yeah, QB, Q should work. Timo, you said you were using Q. I've used it. It worked. But if you
change
it to QB, brother. See if that works for you.
But thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, cheers.
Let's go.
Thanks for being part of our webcast today. Big congratulations going out to Jamie P. and Daniel W., winners of PDQ swag. You can reach us at webcast@adminarsenal.com. Thanks for your questions. If we did not get to those, reach out to us on our forums. We'd be happy to answer your questions there. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.